Welcome to the Sapien podcast. I am Sam. Today, we have a very special guest who dedicated his whole life to martial art. And now he's using the lessons and the philosophy of martial art into music. So stay with us to learn about the amazing journey of Mr. Mark Redding. Don't forget to like and share these videos and subscribe to the channel. Hi, Mark. Really appreciate that you are here and joined our podcast. So the first question that I can think of is we were actually talking about it a little bit before that your whole life is actually about martial art. So that is an amazing accomplishment, and you have dedicated yourself to that particular field. So I was wondering that, so you are actually particularly interested in jiu-jitsu. Is that true?
No, that's not true.
Okay.
I don't look at one art as like the way. I'm kind of like the mindset of Bruce Lee. I don't. I enjoy jiu-jitsu. I love jiu-jitsu. It's an amazing art. But I do many arts. I started martial arts when I was 13. So I've done karate, Kenpo-Karate. I've done Shorin-ryu karate. I've
Okay.
done Filipino martial arts. I've done Thai boxing. I've done judo. I've done wrestling. And jiu-jitsu, of course. There's so many things that I love about martial arts. So I don't look at myself as a jiu-jitsu only a jiu-jitsu practitioner. A lot of people may look at me like that, and some
Right.
students may think that, but that is not how I see myself at all.
Okay. So how you said that you started martial art when you were 13, but how you started, or whether you were interested even before that?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting story. I never played sports ever in school. I mean, I
Okay.
think my parents had me in like basketball and t-ball and stuff like that when I was a little kid. But
Right.
as far as I can remember, like in junior high and elementary school and even high school, I never did anything. I just didn't have an interest in it. And I remember I was 12, 13 years old, and my dad started martial arts for in our local town for like exercise and things like that. So I think it was always a dream that he wanted to do, to be able to be a martial artist. And then I remember him asking me one time, he said, "Hey, why don't you go to this class with me, and try out the martial arts?" And I was a typical teenager, I thought I knew everything. I was like, nah, no, I'm good. I don't want to do that. But I ended up going, and something unique really happened to me. I remember that first day like it happened 5 minutes ago. I walked in the doors, and right when I walked in the door, like this energy came over me. Okay, I'm not trying to sound too philosophical, but it was pretty wild as for a 13-year-old to feel this. I literally have never done martial arts before, didn't know anything about it, walked in the door, and I knew I would do it the rest of my life. And not only would I do it the rest of my life, but I would be a teacher doing it. And then I had my first class, and so it started, and I did. I ever since that day, and it was in, I believe, February of 1991 is when I started, and I was 13 then, and I have not stopped since. I haven't taken time off. I worked through injuries, which I don't have very many. I've been very fortunate in that too, but I've never taken time off. I've been all over the world doing martial arts, have had the pleasure of training with multiple masterful people in the martial arts, and I've met some incredible human beings from doing it. So I don't plan on stopping anytime soon.
Wow. I mean, there are so many questions that are coming to my head right now about the summary that you gave me. So first of all, it seems like your father used to do martial art.
He did, yeah.
Okay.
If I remember right, I think he did judo at first. I could be wrong, but then he started karate, and I believe he was in his 40s at the time. And then he got me started. I was 13, And then, yeah, and he doesn't do it anymore. But yeah, for a time we were doing it together, which is cool. I have 4 kids, and they've all experimented with it, but none of them have stuck with it. So it would have been nice to have them here learning too.
Of course. So your dad also had a school?
No, he didn't have a school. My whole family's entrepreneurial. Okay, so
Okay.
my dad has an advertising company. My mom has a haircut company. One of my brothers, he has like a window cleaning service, and he works for my dad as well. So we all have like our
Oh,
own thing
wow.
we like to do,
Right.
entrepreneurial. But yeah, he just started the martial arts because I believe that he just wanted to be in shape, and he always wanted to learn it.
Wow. There are so many things that people can learn from you and your family even, because an entrepreneurial journey is actually a completely different journey compared to most of the people in the world.
It
And
is.
that actually takes a completely different types of mindset.
It
And
does.
as you mentioned that you actually started your entrepreneurial journey when you were 19.
Yes, sir.
So how you actually what what drove you to do that?
I don't know. I mean, that's kind of a good question. I know my folks. I always grew up around people that are my family that are entrepreneurial. So I guess maybe that had some of it to do, with the path I chose. But yeah, I don't know. I'm the type of person that believes that the path has already been written for us in a roundabout way, right? I don't think you have a lot of control over that, but I also think that. If you're fortunate enough, you find something in your life that you go, oh man, this is what I was meant to do, and I found it really early on, which is kind of crazy because the entrepreneurial side is the second thing I looked at. I mean, I've always thought martial arts was, that's what I wanted to do. I never thought about money. I never thought about anything other than going, man, this is something I'm really passionate about, and I want to learn it, and I want to share it with people. And then the entrepreneurial side came second. Most people have it the other way around. They look at it like, oh, I'm gonna start a business. I'm gonna get into this. I like this, and they want to do that. But mine was switched. And like I said, that's why I believe that. You can believe in higher power or whatever. I believe God put me in a situation where He's like, hey, look, man, this is what you're going to do, and I'm going to open doors for you early on, and it's up to you to take advantage. And I did, and I still am. So, like I said, I'm so fortunate.
Yeah, yeah, of course. But I mean, this path, I mean, until 13, you didn't know. But when you hit that first day, in first 5 minutes of that particular martial art class that you joined,
Yes, sir.
you kind of came to know that this could be a life-changing path for you. But would it be, how did you actually kind of figure out that it would be an entrepreneurial path?
Well, I mean, it's kind of wild, man. It's a strange time because I was in high school. I was 13, or junior high. I was in junior high. I was like, I think it was seventh grade. I started martial arts when I was in seventh grade, leaving sixth grade, going into seventh. And I remember in high school, in my 11th and 12th grade years of high school, I'd always sit in the back of the class, and I would have the book that we were working on in whatever subject it was, and I'd cover it up with business books and read about opening businesses and martial art
Really?
magazine. I had already made my mind up that this is what I was going to do. I tell you, what's is funny. I guess I can relate it like this. I don't know if you've heard of the musical artist John Mayer. A lot of people have heard
Right.
about it.
Yes.
Well, oddly enough, I don't know him by any means, but he is my same age. Okay,
Okay.
and I read a lot about him, and he said something. He graduated the same year I graduated. He goes, look, man, high school was kind of in my way. He goes, I already knew what I wanted to do. I was waiting just to get out of school so I could get this. So it was kind of like a bother to him to go to school, and that's exactly how I felt. I mean, literally, he was touring stadiums 5 years after he graduated high school, 5 to 10 years after he graduated. And I was opening my school the year I graduated high school, or the year after I graduated high school. So I had that same kind of mindset. It's just like I was prepared. I was reading about it. I was passionate about it. I my father had a bunch of commercial buildings. He did he still does advertising. Anyway, he had a bunch of commercial buildings, and he rented me one of them. You know, when I first started, and I was able to get on my feet. And for this is crazy. For 8 years of my when I first opened, I never even had my phone number in the phone. We had phone books back then. Whoever watches this, probably, what's a phone book? But we didn't have our phone number in the phone book for the first 8 years of my business. It was
Wow.
all word of mouth. Okay, and all just friends and people that had heard
Right.
that we were doing this. And it's a small town I live in. It's quite getting a lot bigger now, but at that time it's small, and people knew of my family. And then they heard I did martial arts, and I slowly built it over time. So like I said, I would never really set out to go, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. It just kind of was in my cards. This is what I studied a bunch of books. I went to a bunch of business seminars, at a very young
Okay.
age. I was very driven by that, like the Zig Ziglars and Tony Robbins and all these different people. I was really studying quite a bit, and I went to, like I said, many seminars and applied those things like early on. So it's a lot about time management. Once you have the goal that you're looking to attain, then it's like, okay, what path are you going to take it? And then I set out and I went through it, and then here we are.
Wow. So, could you actually probably remember or name some of the books that you read?
Oh man, there were so many. There was one in particular named Tom Hopkins. I read it was like I think it was On Selling. I think it was called, or
Mm.
Selling something. It was an amazing book. I did a lot of Brian Tracy books. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's another business guy. I went to Robert Kiyosaki seminars.
Right.
Saw quite a bit of his stuff. Tony Robbins, of course, was amazing. He's one of those guys that get you pumped up, and you're like, oh, I
Yep.
can do
Yep.
this. And
For
man, it was
sure.
awesome. Zig Ziglar is from Dallas, so he had
Oh,
a
really?
yeah. I think I never saw him, but I went to his studios in Dallas, and when I was young, I bought all of his CDs, and I listened to those in the car when I was driving, training, and getting that kind of mindset. Like I said, I think if you find something, whatever it is, I use martial arts for that journey, but it could have been anything, and if you find something you're really passionate about, and you have a good direction of these guys that are giving you, mindsets of how to think and how to be able to prepare yourself for this, you can do anything, absolutely anything. And that was my foundation. I never went to college. I graduated high school, and that's it. I don't even know where my high school diploma is. I never set foot in a college. I knew what I was going to do, but
Right.
those guys were my college. I would read about it. I would constantly be reading them and watching seminars and going to seminars and things of that nature. So I those guys don't even know who I am, and I owe them so much because I learned and applied what they were sharing at that time.
Wow. So let me ask you a little more about your entrepreneurial journey. So
Okay.
you got into it when you were 19, right after high school.
I
So,
opened my school, yes, not martial arts, but I opened my school at 19.
right. So before that, how much, so you already, so what kind of martial arts school you had at that
Uh-huh.
time? And also I was wondering that, you already said that when you were 13, you joined one martial art school. And this martial art school that you established, that is different, meaning that there were already a couple of martial arts school in that area. So how did you actually set up yourself like a more of an unique compared to the others?
That's a good question. So when I opened my school, it was in 1996. Okay, so it was in October 1st, 1996 was the first day I opened, and I was teaching karate, Shorin-ryu karate. I was teaching American Kenpo-Karate,
Okay.
and I was teaching judo, and I was teaching aspects of ground fighting. I didn't even call it jiu-jitsu; it was called ground fighting. Okay,
Okay.
because You got to remember, this is 1996. So jiu-jitsu has not really been on the scene. A little bit from UFC. UFC started, I believe, in 92 or 3, somewhere around there. So people knew what Brazilian jiu-jitsu was, but from Hoist Gracie and things like that. But there was nowhere to train in the United States like that. Not really. Not, at least, definitely not in my area in Texas. So it was coming, but it just wasn't quite there yet. Or it had if people were here that were doing jiu-jitsu, I believe Carlos Machado had a school. I think he opened 1 year before me. So that's in 95. So, man, it is fresh. Not very many people had that information. So we called it ground fighting. But those were the 4 things I did. And that's why when you asked me at the beginning of the thing, you said, is jiu-jitsu what you know or what you like, whatever. I love jiu-jitsu. But those arts got me started. Those arts, they were the foundation of my gym at that time. And, but it always had the mindset of someone like what Bruce Lee was saying, he always believed in not one way, and I always have had that mindset, and I always started jeetkunedo shortly after when I opened my school.
Wow.
And was still in that for many years. And just that mindset so important because it goes so along with those guys I was reading at that time, those Zig Ziglars and Brian Tracy's. I mean, they all had the same kind of business mindset. And I just applied from the martial arts side, saying, hey, man, these guys are thinking this way. I don't want just one art. I want to learn as many as I can learn, that not just random martial arts, but martial arts that I thought, hey, were practical and that I enjoyed, right? I love all martial arts, but I think it's a personal journey. You got to find out what you like,
Right.
and how you want to express yourself.
Okay, got it. So now if you can tell us about your martial art journey. So you started with karate.
I
and
did.
then, and then how you actually learned the other styles
Yeah.
and incorporated in your system as well.
So this is what I did. All right. And my wife gives me a hard time about this because, I'm a unique person for sure. Some people don't know how to handle me when it comes to things like this because this is not a normal conversation. People don't normally wake up and go, oh man, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to go out and do it. And I've like that. My whole life is like that. That's exactly, I have an idea and I'm like, I'm going to go do this. And this is the route I'm going to go do it. And I get it done. And it's just, that's how I'm built. That's how I'm driven. So when I started martial arts, I started an art called Shorin-ryu Karate. Okay. It was a hybrid of a couple different arts. Okay, it had some judo in there, it had karate in there, it had different types of karate, and a little bit of weapons. Well, I was 13. It took me from 13 to 18 to earn my black belt in karate, Shorin Karate. Okay, well, during that time, when I think I was a brown belt, I said, you know what? I came up with this idea in my head what I wanted to do. I was like, I want to be able to learn. I don't really care about belts, but I wanted to learn different arts in my hometown. Okay. I wanted to go outside of my hometown within my state of Texas. Then I wanted to go outside of my state and learn from someone anyone in the United States. And then I wanted to go outside of the United States internationally and go train and learn from there. So I had these little pinnacles. I was like, I'm going to go here, 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 here. So I piggybacked them. All right. So what I mean by that is I started that karate when I was 13. When I was 17, I was already starting another art. I started Kenpo-Karate at that time. So I was driving an hour away. I live in a town called Denton. I still live in a town called Denton. And I traveled from Denton to Dallas every week. All right. Multiple times a week to learn this other art while I was still doing the first art. Then I found another guy in Fort Worth that was doing Filipino martial arts. So at 18, I started traveling and seeing him. And keep in mind, I didn't go to these people a couple times. My Kenpo instructor, I still have my Kenpo instructor. I've been with him for 30 years.
Wow.
He just promoted me to 9-3 black belt a few months back, right? So I still have a great relationship with these people. And that's how it's been my entire career. I find something, I piggyback on it, and I keep adding to what my interests are and what I think my students would enjoy. And I made it a lifetime art, and not just one. That's why, like I said at the beginning, I don't think of myself as just one person. I've done all these different arts to blend together.
So when you are going to Dallas or when you're going to Fort Worth, you are traveling every week.
Every multiple times, yeah.
multiple times.
Sometimes 2, 3 times a week, I would go to Dallas. I still do that, by the way. I still go to Dallas every week and do private lessons and train people better than me constantly. That is the one thing that's unique I feel about myself is that I am constantly learning. And from day one, when I started martial arts, I was doing privates with instructors that were better than me, guiding me, and to this day, I go every Thursday to Dallas and train with amazing person. I have a lot of amazing friends that are super talented, that world champions, and just amazing martial artists that come to my gym. I do privates with them when they're here. I bring them here for seminars constantly. I just can't learn enough. I literally feel like I just started yesterday, still after all these years.
One thing that actually got me very interested in your journey is that when you said that you are kind of a person, when you wake up, you just think of something and you go to it.
Yes.
So most of the people, as you mentioned as well, that they actually think of an idea, but they think of consequences, and they
Right.
think of that kind of failures. That what if it didn't work out? What would
Right.
actually happen? Because I'm going to probably invest this amount of money or this amount of equity or something like that. So
Mhm.
was that a challenge for you, or whether I mean, how do you handle that kind of thoughts?
Um, I would be lying to you if I told you I didn't have thoughts about that. I think that's a human thing. I think people, the uncertainty is really tough. But you got to remember too, I was young, when I started. So, I mean, maybe I'll be 47 in August. If I were to start now, I'd probably be a lot different because I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if it'd be that much different. I'm pretty driven on what I wanted to do, but I feel like, when you're younger, you don't think about those things. You don't have kids most of the time. You don't have house, your mortgage, all these different car payments. You don't have all that stuff to really be concerned with, and have that pressure. But that is another blessing I had starting so young. But I mean, of course, those things cross my mind. But here's the thing: what you got to realize, and this is for anybody that is watching this that has maybe had a desire to want to run a business or want to do something that they're passionate about. It can be anything, right? Anything you choose to do, and even some people really close to me when I started off are like, "Oh, you're not gonna be able to do that for a living. You should have a backup. You should do this." And I never ever thought in my mind I wasn't going to do that. Like I thought, this is it. I'm gonna go and do this. I tell you what. To answer your question in another way, there was an instructor that I trained with. Okay, I'll say his name because he was a huge part of my journey, and Andy Sabins actually trained with him a lot too, and it was Jack McVicker. Okay, I
All
started with
right.
him.
Yes. Yes.
I started flying up to Indiana in 1999. That's when I met Andy Sabins. Well, one cool event that I like to share because I want people to look at this and think of this in a couple different ways. Because a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm going to do a business, and I'm going to do this and that," and it's great. But what really stood out to me was I remember the day I flew out to Indiana. Andy Sabins and Jack picked us up at the airport. Me and my brother went with me, and I remember going back to his house, and we're getting ready to go train. And he said, he goes, "Okay, we're just gonna hang out, relax a little bit, and then we're gonna go train tonight." He goes, "Just take a nap, whatever you want, and then we'll go." And I am so type A, and I work with my family, and I'm like, "What do you mean take a nap? What do you mean that it's noon? We have to be working, Let's do it." He's like, "No, no, no, calm down, man, relax. You have this time." Okay, and that really resonated with me at that moment. I was like, man, he's got time. He can do really what he wants in the day. He can go hang out. He can go take a nap. He can go mow the lawn. He can read a book. Those things. I was like, man, I want a life that I have time to do what I want to do now versus waiting until I'm older and retiring and find the time then. So I figured that out, Ralph, pretty soon, and I was like, okay, how do I incorporate something I love so much, martial arts, and then be able to do that with time? Okay. you can make yourself as busy as you want doing martial arts, and I am busy. I have a lot going on with both my schools that I run, but I also have a lot of time, and I've had a lot of time for a long time. And man, the things I've seen and traveled and done because of that mindset has really been a huge guide for me. So the people that are looking for to start a business or to have that kind of entrepreneurial mindset, my encouragement to them is to go, hey, look, don't think so much about the failures. Don't think so much about the money it's going to cost. Those are all things that's going to happen. But how are you going to look at whatever it is you choose to do and put yourself in a situation where you have time, whether that be spend with your family, whether that be spend training, reading, being outside in the outdoors, hiking, whatever the situation is. That's really all you have. You can't take anything else with you. So that was kind of my blueprint, so to speak, to get me started to where I wanted to go.
Okay. And as you mentioned, if you had to start again right now at this stage of your life, you would do the same.
100%. I wouldn't change a single thing I did. Nothing. Nothing at all. I mean, it's been a journey that I think was written already. For me, I just happen to be the person that got to live it. It's really incredible, and like I said, as a dream, man. Every single day, I also wake up thinking, okay. One of my students, we have a joke. I always tell him, I said, hey man, I just want to go under the radar. I don't want anybody to realize what I'm doing. And for years, he's been training me for I think 18 years this year, and he told me, he said, I think you're not under the radar anymore, Mark. And I was like, no, that's my mindset. I want to try to be as quiet as I can, do what I want to do, have a good time, and then when it's time for me to check out, hey, I got to do everything that I wanted, and didn't get any hiccups along the way.
Right.
And speaking of that, I want to say this because this is unique too. And so far, I don't want to jinx myself, but so far in 28 years, every year has superseded the year before. I mean, it's been like
Nice.
I've had no bad years, honestly, ever. I'm not talking about I'm talking about everything financially. I'm talking about the things I've learned, the students that have come in the door, the students that have left that don't train with me, the students that open their own schools. Every single thing has been just better the year after for 28 years. It's incredible.
That is incredible. I think it actually also talks about your mindset. Like, how do you receive the things? There are students are actually coming in, and there are students are going out, and they are setting up their own school. But at the same time, you are actually kind of welcoming and accepting of that.
I also have some students that currently still train with me. My longest running student has been with me for 25 years. 25 years he's been training with me. He's one of my black belts, been in multiple arts that I teach. I just trained with him yesterday. Actually, me and him had a nice round yesterday at our open mat. And I got guys that have been training me 18 years, 15 years, 20 years. I mean, it's an incredible thing, an honor to have them trust me and trust this school and make it their family, for so long.
That is amazing. So now, getting back to the martial art journey. So you traveled all over the world. So how it actually started and how it happened, which countries you traveled?
I've been a lot. I've been to most of my travels were when I was competing in jiu-jitsu. Okay, so I have fought in Japan, I've fought in Europe, I've fought in Brazil, I've fought all over the United States. Those were a lot of my initial travelings at the beginning. Okay,
That was when you were in your 20s.
Yeah, it was. I'm trying to think. I started jiu-jitsu when I was 21, 22 is when I started jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
I've been doing jiu-jitsu 25 years. So, yeah, so I was about 21, 22. I started traveling. And I think I went to Brazil my first trip. I think I was early 20s, 24, 25. The first time I went to Brazil, I was a blue belt when I went. And so, man, that was my first door to international travel. That's another thing too that people maybe not realize, like there's a way to travel, and especially I learned it through martial arts, but there's things you have to know when you're out on the road, and things to look for, especially the countries you're in. And I really learned so much by being around these group of people that I was traveling at that time. I learned how to travel. And to this day, like in 2 weeks, I'll be in Europe. I'm going back to England. I travel all the time and do seminars and training, and I have friends all over the place. But I learned all that at an early age. Back in my 20s, I was learning how to do that. So it's such a great thing. I encourage people to go out there and learn how to. You can learn that at any age. I just started at that time, but you can do that right now, no matter what level you're at.
So what kind of traveling tips that you wanna provide?
Man, first thing is this: know, especially in Europe, know those train stations. Those train stations that's what gets you in and out.
Okay.
Totally know the times. Know how to convert your money. Where to do that at.
Right.
Those things. Do that. Another thing too, I'd say this is a big one right here. Okay, I learned this is that when you are traveling, okay, and you're I'll use Europe for an example because I just got back from there in November, and I'm headed back over there. So I took some money to get it exchanged, and I saved money back for my next trip. So I'm always a trip ahead. So when I go, I'm prepared with the actual currency of that country. So I have that lined up. You're not searching for a place. You're not digging your money out there. You already have that set ready to go. And man, that's a huge time saver. When you're over there, know how to get cabs. Know how to speak a little bit of the language. And let me tell you this: a little bit goes a long way. And I don't speak very much, but just a little bit of different things from different cultures. It gives you so much because people want to hear that you're trying, and then you can kind
Right.
of get an idea, and then they're out to help you. So just some little advice like that. Travel light. Don't travel with a bunch of stuff. I
Right.
always take a small suitcase and a backpack, enough to check in. I do not check bags. That stuff will get lost over there, and then you're in another situation. So little things like that. Most people pack a bunch of stuff, and you don't need that. What you don't have and you need, you can most likely buy where you're going.
Who actually you trained with when you actually started learning jiu-jitsu?
My first instructor was Jack McVicker. Yeah, I started with him when I was 21, 22,
Okay.
and I was with him for 14 years.
Okay. Okay. And I think I saw some videos in the YouTube, but it seems like he's still teaching.
Jack is still teaching. Yes,
Okay.
I believe so. I haven't spoken to him in a number of years, but he was. I learned a lot from him. I really did. He was one. He remember the goal I told you at the beginning. I was going to train locally in my town. I was going to go outside of my town, and I was going to go outside of my state. He was the first, and second person. He's the first person that I stuck with. That we meshed good because you got to have a good instructor. That you got to say, hey, this person I can learn a lot from. I had some other people before him, but I didn't mesh with them. But with him, I did, and I learned a lot from Jack, a bunch. I learned, and you got to remember, as I still am, I was very driven at the time to figure out what he was doing, because I wanted to live that kind of lifestyle, And I'd fly out there every 3 months from Texas. I'd take my brother with me, and I would go to train with him for a weekend. Okay, and a weekend consisted of Friday to Sunday, sometimes Thursday to Sunday, and we would train 5 to 6 hours. Okay, at the time when we were there, and I'd mix it with stand up and I'd mix it with ground because he was good in jeetkunedo and good in jiu-jitsu, so I learned both that way. And then I would go and sit in on a lot of his privates to learn how he taught people, to learn, the questions people asked. I'd be the dummy in that room, and I get to not only learn the techniques, but I get to learn how to approach doing business that way. And that's how I kind of started incorporating that into mine. And man, that's where it took off, and that's where we went with it. But Jack was the first person that he also taught me how to travel internationally. I went with him on a lot of things to watch how he would do it, where to train at, who to train with, who wouldn't get injured, things to ask, how to compete. I learned a lot of stuff from at the very early ages from for me from learning by watching and doing what he was doing.
So who else you actually met who, as you mentioned that you met like exceptionally big people in this field?
Oh man, I've there's so many people. I talk about just jiu-jitsu, just
No,
jiu-jitsu.
all over. Like you actually are trained in many different styles.
I am, yeah. I have, man, I've got so many great people. I tell you, the Gracies have been amazing. I've met quite a few of them. One of my really good friends is Clark Gracie. He's come here for over 10 years, done seminars here. I've been out to San Diego, trained with him numerous times. Um, in the Kenpo-Karate side of the world, I have my mentor and martial art instructor from that. His name's Tim Bulot. And, you know, he was under Larry Tatum. I'm good friends with Larry Tatum as well. I've trained, it's hard to put my spot like that. Filipino martial art wise, I've trained with Mark Makita. He's out of California. Daninosanto out of California. Um, let's see who else. Jiu-jitsu, karate. Um, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu wise, I tell you this, there's an amazing person. I had so many great people, but sadly, one of my mentors, I trained with him, he was my professor for 12 years. He sadly passed away last August. Okay. And this guy helped me so much. His name was Octavio Coutu, was his name. And he let me travel with him all over Europe. And I could do privates with him numerous times. When he come here, so many seminars shared with him. Um, he introduced me to a bunch of people in the jiu-jitsu community where I got a chance to teach and learn from, and those people are still coming to my gym and training here, and you know, just this is an amazing person, man, and I miss him so much. But he was able to teach not just me, but people all over the world a different way of looking at martial arts. So you know, he's probably been the most influential person that I've met. I love all my instructors, but him is probably the, you know, really high up on the list of someone that you just don't meet people like that every day, you know. And
Right.
I don't imagine ever meeting someone like him again. So I was fortunate to have him.
Wow, that's amazing. Yep, people like that when they leave this place, it's very hard for sure.
Yeah, it's hard, man, especially unexpected. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay, okay.
The unexpected because he passed away by an accident, and then you know, it's hard to understand the reasons why. But I tell you this, man, I going back to kind of this journey and this conversation we're having. Um, One thing that he taught me, and that I think I tell my students to this day, because he passed away last August, and I tell them this all the time. I was like, hey, you know, do what it is that you're going to do today, because the opportunity may not be there tomorrow. And I don't mean that necessarily by death, right? I mean, death is inevitable. We're all going to die, but the opportunities can change. So maybe where you're training at today won't be there tomorrow. You
Right.
know, maybe the people is there, but the opportunity is gone. So, man, I really try to wake up every day. I'm up at 5 a.m. every day, and I usually go to bed by midnight every day. Okay, I get as much as I can get in that day. I read constantly. I'm out learning different styles of martial arts. I'm out learning different arts besides martial arts. And I study constantly because I know that tomorrow something may not be there for me to do that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's so true. And I hear that from many other motivational speakers like Tony Robbins and entrepreneurial speakers as well. Like start today.
Yeah,
So that's
start today, man.
that's the key. When you teach martial art,
Mhm.
what kind of philosophy you actually put forward? Like what kind of mindset that students should develop?
A beginner mindset. I'm always talking about that. Beginner mindset, always. You know, some people like to say that, you know, you would think after 33 years of doing martial arts, you would think, oh man, this guy he's a master, or he's, someone that you would consider, all his accolades or whatever. I do not look at myself like that at all. I literally look at myself as a beginner mindset, a white belt. I'm a white belt in everything I do, every single day. I try to tell people with that kind of mindset, you go out there, man, your cup is so empty. You can learn so many things that way. If you go out the other way, then sometimes it's hard to receive that type of thing. I can't stress enough how like I learned so much by not just my students, but other people I've made connections with that I currently still train with in all different arts all across the board. And man, it's like I'm like a kid in a candy store every single day. I get to wake up. I'm like, oh man, I get to do this today. I mean, as soon as we hang up here, I got this book I'm reading right now. I'm learning about this one guy, and man, I'm really intrigued by his lifestyle and his mindset and how he was able to accomplish what he accomplished in a short time. And I'm looking always for little nuggets of things going, oh man, that's a different way to look at this. Or something I can portray to my students to go, look, this person did this, have you thought about doing this? Have you thought about trying this option? Things of that nature. I think it's always important to keep your mind fresh and challenge yourself, push yourself. Don't be in the box all the time. So I speak a lot about things like that in my class.
Okay. Uh,
There's a saying. I tell you, there's this musical artist that there's a song that he has, and it came out a couple years ago, and he said a line in there, okay, in the song, and I try to tell people this, and I love what he said. He goes, "If I die tomorrow, what did I do today?" And
right,
think
right.
about that all the time. Like, if I die tomorrow, what did I do today? Because today is what matters, right? So that's why I hit the ground. I'm like, okay, let's go. We gotta do this. We gotta do this. And I try to show that to my students too. To, do it today, because you
Right.
don't know. Maybe tomorrow I might not be here.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Oh, there are so many thoughts actually going on in my mind right now.
That's okay,
This is
man.
an amazing philosophy, literally. Um, so, would you like to share the book that you're reading right now?
Yeah, for sure. I'd be happy to. So I'm also I'll tell before I tell you the book I'm reading, I'll tell
Mhm.
you why I'm reading this book.
Sure, sure.
I I started a musical journey. I've always been into music. For
Right,
me, I
right.
love music. I've grew up listening to all kinds of different things, and I've always loved it. I never thought of playing an instrument, because I was so into martial arts. I still am. I love it so much, but it's an artistic thing, right? So as I've gotten older, I thought, you know what? I have a lot of time. I'm going to invest, and I want to see if I can transform in my mind how I can trade martial arts for music and combine them together and go learn an instrument, go learn about the music. And I found another amazing instructor that he's my bass instructor. His name's George Anderson. And I went to him a year ago and said, I want to do an album. I remember, I don't even know how to play an instrument. And he's like, okay, whatever, Mark, sure. I was like, no, I don't think you understand. I want to do this. And this is what I'm going to look at doing every day.
Uh-huh.
And he said, okay. So he helped me. He got that for me and showed me how to write the songs, showed me how to play the instrument, showed me how to read music, showed me all these different things. I invested a ton of time. And I just finished my first album. I was in Detroit a couple days ago watching the album get pressed, and
Yes.
then it comes out in a couple weeks. And so I was able, and I called it When Arts Collide, and that's the whole point, is blending music with martial art. So my students can look at that and go, "Hey, I could do something like that. It doesn't have to be martial arts and music. It could be whatever it is, and blending something together because the martial arts traits really align well with whatever you want to do." Okay. So I've always been a person, I read all the time on all kinds of different things, but I'm really intrigued by jazz lately. Okay. And I didn't even like jazz a year ago. I'm a rock guy. I love rock music, like blues, stuff like that. I never understood jazz. That's why I didn't get it. So I was like, you
Okay.
know what? I started asking questions. And my instructor, he so graciously would answer them for me, but he would only answer what I asked him. He didn't come out and say, "Mark, do this." And I remember asking him, I was like, "Where do I start at?" Because it's like starting martial arts. Like, well, where do you learn? Where do you listen to first? And he goes, "Go listen to what you like." And I thought, well, that's kind of a unique way to say that. I don't know what I like. How am I going to go listen to what I like? He goes, go listen. And if something resonates with you, dive into that. So I did. And I have been in this deep dive, and I do that with not just music, with martial arts too. I go find things. I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna go study that. Okay. So getting around to your question, you asked me what book am I reading? Right now, I'm reading a book about a guy named Bill Evans. Okay, Bill Evans was a pianist, and back in the '60s, and so he died in 1980, and he's mesmerizing, absolutely mesmerizing. And let me tell you something really interesting about this that is going to be that aligns so much with martial arts. And I've been watching videos of him, and he's unique because he he's the type of guy that he wasn't born with being able to go, oh, I'm this amazing pianist. He put a lot of work into it, a bunch. He practiced 10 to 12 hours a day. He would practice with all these amazing people. So it begs the question, sometimes you go, man, you put yourself in an environment where you train with basically world champions of music all the time. Your level definitely went up from that. But what we got to look at is going, okay, how do you relay that to either a business, how do you relay that to a martial art, or what's this guy's mindset? It blows me away to go, what was he studying? What was he thinking? What was his order of priority when he woke up every single morning? And not just him, but that's what this book's kind of about. And it talks about his journey and things he thought, and his practice time, his schedule. He didn't let anything get in the way of his learning, his growth. And that's really inspiring to me because I'm the same way. It's like, man, I'm hungry still to this day to learn every single thing I can. I have times in my week where I've designated and etched out just for specific parts of things that I'm not good at in martial arts, and I work on them with students that I bring in for these classes. Same thing in music. I'm working on little things I'm not good at, trying to improve upon. I check journals. I write everything down. I do videos of everything. So it's very documented, and my growth is growing so fast every single day. My mind can't keep up with it because I've got so much that is coming at me. So that book is really cool. It's kind of a history on him and his upbringing and how he got started, and people he turned to learn from. And it's crazy reading things like that. And like I said, I don't know much about jazz. I'm learning so much more about it, but it's not even jazz. It doesn't even matter what type of genre of music it is. It's just that someone was so driven, and you want to learn from people like that because you can take things from them and go, man, I can apply that to my life and be able to have huge gains in a day. I mean, when you wake up at 5 a.m. like I am, you're going to bed at midnight, I have goals I'm going to accomplish, and I'm going to get every day I'm accomplishing something. And a lot of that's because of people like him that I've read and got ideas from. I know that's a lot to take in. I'm sorry.
No, actually, something very important I actually just thought of because it's so interesting, especially about the jazz. So sometimes I personally I paint,
Oh,
and
nice.
yeah. So but my painting is generally more of a fine art style,
Okay.
and on the other side there is a contemporary art.
Okay.
And when I see contemporary art, I don't really, it kind of is beyond me
Okay.
in terms of understanding. So, so I would like to know from the jazz thing that you actually told me, understanding jazz, that how do you understand jazz now? Beyond listening, do you actually read the history or philosophy of it by any chance?
Man, that's a good question. I tell you, yes, I do, to answer your question. But let me tell you what is awesome. Okay, for me, this is what's worked for me. And what I'm about to say is, I want you to understand it's not so much about the jazz, it's how my mind works and how I put things together to learn. Okay, and whoever listens to this podcast, try doing things like this. Whatever it is that you want to learn, to get better at, to challenge yourself. Okay, the jazz. So my instructor is amazing. His name is George Anderson, like I said, and he knows a lot of these tunes. They're called standards, all right, and they've been around for 100 years. So you go listen to these different things, and I go back. I go, man, I really like this. I said, what are they doing here? What's unique about me is not only am I reading about it, I'm playing an instrument. When I go back and I ask him, hey, show me what these people are doing here. So he teaches me what I'm reading about. So it gets in my brain of not only reading the book, but now that's something that's in the middle. Now I go and actually work it technically with my hands and go, I get to see it with two different glasses on. I get to read about what they're doing, and then I get to go do that.
Basically
That's the
experience
same
it.
thing. It's the same thing in martial arts, right? So you
Right.
read these books of these people. Fortunately, I've been around forever doing what I do. I've got some amazing friends. I go to them and go, man, I read about this. This person does this, or I've watched this fight. This person does this. How do you do that? Can you show me that? What's your take on that? And then I take it, and then I create my own out of it. So right now, I'm really into reading about what these masters of music would do in this jazz. Cool thing about jazz is this: is they improvise everything. Nothing is written down of going, okay, we're going to play it this way. That is extremely hard. That is like sparring is what that is like. Okay, jiu-jitsu, going around jiu-jitsu. You don't know what that. You have an idea of what you want to do, but you don't
Right.
know it can turn any kind of direction in any second, right? And then every person you go with is going to be different. So it's exactly the same thing in my mind. It's like, man, how do you get that kind of that thought process to grow every single day and still be able to continue to learn, right? So those guys that I'm reading about right now I'm so excited because every time I go train, I'm thinking like, oh man, they played this or they did this. Let me see if I can incorporate that into a movement of maybe passing the guard or a takedown or a weapon disarm. All those different things could be different for each person. So that is one thing that I think is unique for me is that I get to experience that later in my life through music, but it's coming back tenfold through martial arts because I've been doing that for so long. So it's why it's so exciting to me. Like, man, I feel like I'm getting better as an artist because of this jazz right now, currently in my life. Which you got to remember, I've only been listening to jazz for maybe 6 months, 8 months, but I've studied a ton of it. I've read a bunch of books about it. And now I'm learning how to play it, which helps your understanding of what you're reading. Right? So it's not just a reading thing. It's like you're understanding what it is you're doing, which I believe if you don't understand what you're doing, how are you going to be able to be good at something? You gotta be able to break it down and show it to somebody else,
Right. So this is actually, when you talk about the adaptability of jazz itself, it's so much, um, it's so equal to the idea of contemporary art as well.
Yes.
Uh, it's
It's
there's
like
no set
painting.
rule
It's
for it.
like you're painting, right? It's the same
Right.
thing. If you think about this, look, you have an idea, okay, and this is my assumption, so please stop me if I'm wrong, but you have an idea when you sit down to paint. It's an expression of
Right.
freedom, okay, of whatever it is at that moment, that time that you sit down to paint. You couldn't paint the same thing twice. You couldn't sit down and go, okay, this is what your objective is, and then tomorrow let's recreate that. It would
Right.
never be the same, right?
Right.
I feel like music is like that, jazz in
Yeah.
specific is like that, and I feel like martial arts is like that. You can't. I mean, some martial arts in karate, if you're doing a kata or something like that, yeah, it's set a certain way. Just as free flowing. Filipino martial arts is free flowing, as in it could be a different movement every single time. You know,
Right.
that is what I believe really grows us as an individual to go, look, I don't want to be the person that comes out and has rehearsed something every single day. I want to do mess ups. I want to learn from the mess up.
Yep.
It's very hard. It's like the question you asked me earlier going, oh man, do you worry about, when you first started, the financial side or this, all that? It's very similar to that kind of feeling. It's like you're on a tightrope and you can fall any second. It's with no net ever. But the freedom you get from being that way is amazing. And that's what I'm trying to search for so much, and not just that, but my whole life. I want that freedom. I want the freedom of the unknown, but it is not just the unknown. It's prepared studies so that you can experience the unknown. Not
Right.
just going wild and going, oh, I'm going to go out there and see what happens. Not that. It's prepared thinking, prepared studies, prepared alignment with the proper people that are above your level, that are able to be a great guide to you, which
Yes.
I'm fortunate to have all those people to help me do that. to give you this freedom of expression. So it's the same thing. I don't know you well, but I know that if you say you're into painting, you have got to have had some kind of experience like I'm explaining right now.
Yeah, yeah, it's completely true. And, on top of that, what you are doing as well, that you are with this experiential journey that you are having, you are incorporating these and you are creating new things as well. And
Yeah.
that's what your album is about.
Yeah, exactly,
Right.
exactly. And I want people to look at all my students to first and foremost look at that album and go, whether it's good or not is irrelevant. It doesn't even matter. It's someone's idea of what is good. Okay,
Sure, sure,
man, hate it,
absolutely.
like I don't want to look at it that way. I want to look at it and go, wait a minute. He's never played an instrument before. He learned how to play the instrument. He went out and told he's going to do an album. He went and did it. He's creating these opportunities to play live with people. Remember, on this album I just did, I hired all these phenomenal musicians to play this album. I am the absolute worst on the album. I'm a white belt, and these are all like high level black belts that are playing on this album that I hired to do on purpose, so that I can learn from the experience and go, wow,
Easy.
man, okay, this is something that I want to be able to attain, right? And let me tell you, those people that are on the album, they found out that I did martial arts and did a little bit of background on me, and they've told me, they're like, oh, wow, man, you get it. Because it's in the same kind of artistic mindset as everything else, as a painter, as a musician, as a martial artist, whatever it is, that kind of mindset is infectious. And
Yep.
people that see that are like minded go, oh man, he gets it or she gets it. Man, I want to be around people like that to constantly help improve my growth.
Yeah, yeah. So, tell me more about the album. So, what kind of music it is? How many
Yeah.
songs are there? And did you write? It seems like you write those songs, right?
No, I didn't write a single one of them. And
Okay.
let me tell you how this works. Okay,
Oh,
so
sure. Yeah, yeah.
it's an EP. It's called an extended play. Okay, so it has seven tracks on it. All
Okay.
right. So, and this was very specifically thought out. So we have two cover tunes. One's by a woman and one is by a man. Okay, they're both old tunes that have been around a long time. And then there's four originals that are instrumental. Okay, and my instructor wrote every one of the songs. Not just wrote them, but listen to this. He taught me how to play my bass by learning those songs to put on my album from my experience. That's
Oh,
an
wow.
amazing thing. So not
Yeah, it
only
is.
I learned how to read music by him writing these songs out, teaching them to me. They're on my album for me to play live with all these different people. I came up with the names for the album title and some of the songs that he showed me, but he showed me how to do all that. Which, man, I can't even begin to tell you the value of learning from someone like that. He basically said, okay, Mark, here you go. You want to make an album? That's fine. You know nothing about it. You can't play the bass. Let me teach you how to play the bass. Let me teach you how to read the music. Let me teach you what it's like to go in the studio, how to hire these people, how to be able to have a really good product, and then enjoy this amazing journey along the way. And it took 1 year to do it. Started in February 23 and February 24, I was done. That's from no idea. That's from just saying, hey, I want to do an album to, oh, here it is. It's done. It's in your hand. Listen to this. Amazing journey. I mean, that's the kind of people I choose to surround myself around. I mean, just that little bit you hear. Imagine how much I learned in that time.
Right.
And I applied what I learned in there to all my martial art journey for the past year. So my mindset and my abilities to be able to teach the things that I've learned, man, it's been incredible, and I'm just so excited to share with anyone, especially my students. And I can't get it all out in enough time. Like I'm like, here, do this, check this out, do this, and different ways to drill it, how to look at different situations because of this journey I was on to the music, and I want them to look at that and go, wow. Okay, maybe I should do something like that. Why would you not do that? Like I said, what if you die tomorrow? What did you do today? What did you do today? I made an album. Go write a book. Do
Right.
something. Go make a painting. Go study with some of these people that you're enjoying to paint. There's amazing people out there that can give you a journey to go, hey, have you thought about this? Hey, have you done this? And not just that, but push you in a way to really see what your full potential is. A lot of people, I hate this. A lot of people get a black belt into something and think, okay, well, I've attained that. I'm good. I don't think that isn't that is death to me. Honestly, I never thought that way. Quite opposite. When I've earned the black belts that I've had in all the arts I do, I thought, man, I'm just a white belt, and I still feel like that. It's like I've got so much more to learn. I'm not even beginning to be where I need to be yet. You know, but that guides you. And it's really cool to see all that blend together and put this in a way where it is artistic, it is entrepreneurial, it's a bunch of different things, but it's a journey. Is really what it is all about. At the end of the day, it's one man's journey that gets to share it, and it's a unique in its own way.
Yeah. This is an amazing conversation I'm having,
Oh
literally.
man, I hope so. I really enjoy the opportunity to be able to share about it. I'm very passionate about it. Okay, and
Yeah.
I'm not the regular martial arts school where I say regular. I'm not trying to put anybody down. I don't mean it that way. I think that I'm unique here in the way that especially in the last couple of years of being able to add music into my life and be able to blend that with what I'm already doing. Like I said earlier, it could be anything. It could be painting, just like you. It could be the same exact thing. That is something that interests me as well. I would love to sit and talk to you about some of the things you've experienced in the studies of painting, because I guarantee you there are some things that we can align on and go, oh man, that's it. And then ideas develop, right? And we
Right.
both grow in that day.
Right.
Like so much time in a day, we both can learn from each other from that journey. And that's really what it's all about, in my
Yeah, yeah,
opinion.
absolutely. I completely understand your point of view. It's so, and one of the things that I actually see in you that you are, you know, a lot of people actually do get a lot of nice experiences, but it has to be expressed in a very cohesive manner as well.
Right.
And you express it very well. So that's
Oh,
actually the best thing that I'm understanding here in this particular conversation as well. I mean, of course, your experiences are outstanding experiences, but on top of that, when you are expressing yourself, uh, and as we are actually having the conversation, but on top of that, you are expressing yourself in the music. You are
yeah.
expressing yourself in martial art as well,
Right.
and your whole journey is just like a, I don't know, I would sound more philosophical probably. It sounds like a ocean with waves, like really vast blue ocean that I can imagine right now.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it really is a cool thing. I think I can be too much for some people sometimes. Like my wife, sometimes she has enough of me, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, man, how do you just come with an idea, something you want to go do, and you go do it? People don't do that." And I was like, "Well, I think a lot of people do. People I read about do it. I don't know.
Yeah,
Why can't we do that? And I don't look at it as limitation, and I don't look at it as a challenge either. I want to make sure that's clear. It's not that. It's not just. It has to be something you feel in your heart to go, oh man, I would like to learn about that. I would like to grow from that. I never
right,
sit out and thought, you know what, I'm gonna go open or get an album and start the music and do it. It kind of came along with the territory because I wanted to learn more, right?
right,
Um, my business, like I said at the beginning, I always thought entrepreneur was second. I always wanted to learn martial arts. I was like, okay, well, the next obvious step is to go teach it to people. Well, I gotta get a business. I want to open a building, and let's start that process and learn from that. But because it's really not much different from doing an album and opening a business. It's about the same. And
right.
some people probably disagree with me, but that's my journey. That's how I see it. It's very similar. There's a lot of similarities in those two things.
I think eventually you would probably write a book as well.
I would like to write a book. It's funny because a lot of my students have asked me before I did the album. They're like, "You need to do a book," because I mean, I'm coming up on 30 years. I've been open in my business. And they're like, "You need to do a book," and I will do that. I will do that. But I'm glad I waited because I have this journey now through music that I didn't have. I would have done the book. It would have been in the book, right? So
Right.
I think it kind of makes a full circle,
Yes.
of where I've started and where I'm currently going and where I'm at. That would be the next journey I do is to do a book. I think it'd be really
Right.
cool to share
Right.
that.
It would be
I don't
about,
want to read it. I don't want to bore people, but I mean,
I think
it's
a
some
lot of
cool
people
things in
will.
there, you know.
A lot of people will read it. It's definitely would not be 4 hour work week,
Yeah,
but
no, I love that book, by the
completely.
way.
Yeah,
Symphony,
that's a good.
amazing,
That's a really good book. But
amazing.
um, the idea posed in that book and the idea that you are actually putting out here, it's actually, although the mindset is same, but how would I say it? I don't know. 4 hour work week is definitely not your thing.
No, but I learned a lot of concepts from Tim Ferriss
Right,
in that
right,
book
right,
to be able to apply to what I do. And by
right.
the way, I met him, and he's a super amazing person. And I would love to have a conversation with that guy one day.
Oh, you did?
Oh yeah, I met him at a bookstore in Austin one time,
Oh,
at
nice.
an event, and I got to talk to him for a little bit. I would love to ask him a million questions. He's such an intriguing person, and he's a great example. I'm glad you brought him up because yes, that book is not me, but he is the type of person that he's out searching different things too. He's reading different articles. He's trying to improve, his lifestyle, his learning ability,
Yeah.
and that's an example I think everyone should follow because he that guy's way more experienced than me on so many different things that would be an amazing conversation with. You could dive off into one subject and end up with 30 you've talked about, just with that guy. And I know he did martial arts, or I don't know if he still does it, but just an incredible entrepreneur. That's what
Yeah,
he is.
absolutely.
Incredible.
I'm so glad that you actually met him, and
I did.
it
Yeah.
must be transformative.
It was really cool, man. I mean, especially because I've read all of his books, and he has one. I don't know if you've read it. It's called Mentors. Have you read it?
Oh, that one I didn't.
It's such an amazing book. Oh my gosh, you
Oh,
gotta read that book. It's so good. It's kind of like it's great because it has all these different genres of business people that are in this book, and their mindsets. And I need to go back and reread that. Now that we're talking about it, because I probably see things differently now reading it from when I did read it. And man, he's got some great interviews with people that you learn so many things, different ways of asking something. That can translate to so many things, to your profession, to what you do for work, to your hobbies of being a painter, to a martial artist, a musician. I mean, there's so many different things that apply. And he has one article, I know you have to look it up. It's so cool. It's how to ask the right questions. Look, I want to tell you this. This was cool. I don't know if you ever heard this. I told one of my students this, and we talk about this a lot. One of the questions in the book he asked, okay, and this is to kind of give you an idea of where the mindset is that I study all the time. He asked a chef one time. He went to go eat at a restaurant, and he asked the chef. He goes, "I want to know what you recommend for me to eat that you wish someone would order more that you cook, and they don't order." And I thought, wow, that's an amazing question to ask a
that
chef. That's
encompasses
amazing.
everything, every side of the business.
Yes,
What
it's
will
like
be, what will sell more? What you
yeah,
would love to cook?
yes, yes. And then he was like, "Oh, I wish people would order more of this, whatever it was." And he goes, "I want that. I want to eat that." And the chef was like, "Okay, great." He's all excited about making it for him. I thought, man, what an amazing question to ask. Because maybe you're missing out on something you haven't even had a chance to try. And this guy loves to cook that. Why would you
Right,
not want to try it?
right.
It's crazy.
That's super smart. There's
Yeah,
no
it is.
question
And that's the
about it.
kind of things I'm looking for in a day. Things like that. What kind of questions do you ask people? What kind of way can you get through your day where you can take the most out of it, right? And sit back at the end of your day and reflect on it and go, wow, man, look what I learned today. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to share this with this person. Or another better thing, even better than for yourself, especially in my field, when I show something to one of my students and then they're struggling through it, and then the day they get it and they're like, oh, that was it. I understand how to do it now. That's an amazing feeling. That is better than anything I could have earned on my own. It's to see someone else go, I've got this, and they got it, and they're able to make that next advancement in knowledge for themselves. That's a cool thing.
Right. Right. Of course. I don't know. We are actually coming to an end, but for this particular podcast, but I would actually talk to you more about different philosophical lifestyles, because one of the things that I actually also see in yourself, that you mentioned that yes, you didn't go to college, but everybody should also understand that it doesn't really matter, because you read a lot,
A lot, yeah.
and that gives you so much knowledge already.
And travel, not just the reading.
and
The
and travel.
too. Those two together, I believe, are better than what it would have been for me to be in college.
Right.
Okay, I'll finish up my conversation with this. I had a really good friend of mine. He was a professor, an English professor. Okay, he died 20 years ago, and he was an amazing, amazing person. And he would always be on me. He's like, Mark, you need to go to college. I'm like, I'm not going to college, man. I already know. And he goes, you don't like school. I said, you're right. I don't like school. I love to learn, though. There's a difference, right? I want to go out and I'm very type A. I'm very visual. So I have to be in a situation where you show me and I get to feel it. I get to read about it and go do it. It's very physical to me. So it made sense for me to go and learn by my travels and my reading, and finding myself with the right instructors to put me in a situation where I was able to apply this, right? And fortunately, I get to go out and teach this every single day. So it just resonates with you over and over again. So I think in a way it's kind of better than going to college, because if you go to college, you get this study, but then you leave and you go to work, and then if you're lucky, you practice what you learn in school. I get to practice it every single day, of anything I do.
So, your martial art journey in your school, do you incorporate every different styles in one martial art class, or do you have separate classes?
Separate, yeah, on purpose, because some people, this is a great thing. People will say, "Hey, I want to do jiu-jitsu." I'm like, "Okay, great, come to jiu-jitsu." They say, "I don't want to do boxing. I just want to do jiu-jitsu." I said, "Man, go try out the boxing class, Thai boxing. Go see if you like it." And then they come back, and some people are like, "Oh, I love that," or "I didn't realize that was such a cool thing." Filipino martial arts, same way. Every single thing I teach that I have learned, I try to add in this school, because I want people to look at that and go, I didn't think I'd like that, but then they tried it, and then it's like the food thing, right? How do you know that you're not going to like it if you don't try it? And maybe you've done jiu-jitsu for 6 years, and you say, you know what, this is cool. My body's getting kind of banged up. Let me study some Filipino martial arts. And all of a sudden, your brain takes off on a different level, and you go, oh, wow, I got this energy to learn more. Maybe that Filipino martial arts open the door and go, oh, I want to be a painter now. I want to go learn about that. So it's important to have the arts in different classes, in my opinion, instead of having it in one group, because I just feel like it gets too. Those arts deserve to be able to be taught one by one, and be able to have that delicacies of those arts shared and not overlooked by another art. Okay, and ultimately in fighting, you should be able to do all of them, mix them together, right? But you should learn them in broken up pieces, so that way you can really see the beauty and the value of that art. And I think music's the same way. I mean, those jazz guys figured that stuff out a long time ago. They were like, oh man, look, I'm going to put myself on the best. I'm going to learn this way. I'm going to do it this way. Then I'm going to go play it and spontaneously try to figure out how to blend all this together every single day. Man, that's growth right there. How do you not grow from that?
If you have any kind of very interesting or funny experiences, like stories, I'm pretty sure that you have those experiences a lot.
Oh yeah. Maybe trying to think of a good one that I've had. There's so many different things. You learn so much about being on the road and being with people and sharing, different lifestyles while you're out there. Um, of course, I've had a lot of funny experiences, but I tell you, the best thing for me, really, honestly, is to be able to go, hey, man, I have had this experience. I've had this one, but what I've taken from all these experiences is I've applied them to what I do in my regular day. Okay, and that's the biggest difference. What is the point of going to go do anything and get that experience if you do not go apply it? You've got to be able to go do that to get the full benefit of it, in my opinion, right? It's not just about the experience. It's not just about the laughter, or the tears or whatever it is that you're going through. It's what are you going to take from that journey and be able to apply it in that day for not just yourself, but for other people to learn from that are open-minded, that want to accept it. So of all the stories, of all the things I've ever done, man, good and bad, I don't regret anything. I feel like I'm able to share that, portray that when my students look at me. I hope they see that and go, man, you know what? This guy lived his life every single day and enjoyed every single bit of it and was able to apply it. Not just talk about it, not just say, I'm going to go do this or I'm going to say this is a goal. Goals are great. You need them. But man, being driven enough to succeed, to say, I'm going to go from the beginning to the so-called end. There's really no end, in my opinion, on anything, but the beginning to an end of something, and go, man, I'm gonna go learn from this experience, and I'm gonna have a good time doing it, and I'm gonna fall a million times, but I'm gonna get back up every single time, and surround yourself around people that are gonna support that. Instructors and students alike.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually the best thing that you can do, and that's the best village of we as well. So, practicality of martial art. So, of course, you learn martial art because of the fact that if something happens in the world out there, then
Right.
you can actually kind of counter that and protect yourself. Now, if by any chance, of course, you are not instigating it, but somebody actually starts some kind of street fight, what kind of mentality that you want the person to have?
Man, it's hard to say, and I'll tell you why. Is because it depends. Like myself, I'm 47. I have 4 kids and my wife. Right. So if I'm with them on the street, or one of my daughters, or my son, or just my wife, my mindset's different than
Right.
it would be about myself. Right. So I'm always would put myself in harm's way versus putting them there. Um, I think you should know definitely a stand-up art, definitely a ground art, and definitely some weapons. You should understand those 3 things. You should also understand the idea of taking someone down and them taking you down. With an idea of those 4 pieces, which this is what's awesome about this, you don't have to know a ton about it. Just some good fundamentals of each of those 4 things I've described. It will go a long way. Also mixed with awareness. Awareness is huge. Knowing when to exit yourself, when to put yourself in a situation where you can say, hey, I'm safe here, or I see this coming. I need to maybe adjust or go step over on this side and not be in the way of this conflict. But the mass attacks, things like that, going, okay, well, am I in a situation where I'm caught in the middle between 2 people? I don't want that to ever happen. So training those ideas and being able to do that like in my school where you have different arts to learn that from, man, that's the best thing you can do, in my opinion. You don't have to have years and years of experience doing it either. You can go a long ways with just a little bit of time if you understand how to put it together. Look, just going back to the music thing for a minute, I've only been playing bass for not even 2 years. I've been doing martial arts for 33 years. And look what I've already applied in 2 years in music because of what I've learned through the martial art.
Yep.
I mean, there's nothing else I can say about that. It's like, why would you not learn a few more things and stand up, a little bit of wrestling, a little bit of mass attack, a little bit of ground, and then practice those things with good instructors that's going to help you be able to protect yourself on the street. I mean, it's a no-brainer. And it doesn't matter about the age at all. Anybody can do that. It's not like you're saying, okay, well, we're going to go train to be a world champion and you're 68 years old. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you're going to go learn any of this stuff. Even at 68, at 78, you can learn what I'm talking about.
Right. Yes. Okay. So now about your school. So, if you can actually tell us about the school you have and what kind of classes you have,
Yeah.
and when you have those classes, and also give additional information. Of course, I will actually add the information in the description.
Right.
So if you can actually.
Yep, sure. So my school's called Reading Martial Arts. That's my name, Mark Reading, and I have two schools in Denton. And they're about 6, 7 minutes apart, but not very far away. We teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu every single. I'm open 7 days a week, so we teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu every day. I have Thai boxing twice a week. We have judo a couple times a week. We have karate a couple times a week. We have a Filipino class, Filipino martial art class. Kids classes, of course, adult classes, every day. I'm in Denton, Texas. Okay, that's where I was born and raised. My whole life I've been here, and this is our 28th year open. My website is readingmartialarts.com. It's REDING, not two D's, just one D. Everybody tries to put two D's in my name, but it's one D. Readingmartialarts.com. Our schedule's online for both of our schools. If anybody's watching this is just traveling through, I would be honored to have anybody come and experience a class here. I feel like we have a great group of instructors. I want to add this on here too. I started this thing when I was 19, right? And I'm going to be 47, like I've said in this interview. But this school looks very different now than it did when I was 19, okay? And the reason why, and this is a good thing, is because the people here, the instructors here that help run this school with me, man, I could not do anything that I do to this day without these amazing instructors. I have so many of them, all the classes that teach, that they come in and share their gifts, and to be in around that atmosphere is I'm so blessed and privileged to have them teaching here. And any class you come to, whether it's one I teach or one of my instructors teaches, you are definitely going to learn, and you're going to learn some amazing things. You're going to be around some amazing people. So if you're traveling and you're in the area, you want to come try us out, man, I would love the opportunity to have you come experience one of our classes.
Thank you, Mark. Now about your album, if you can again tell us the name of your album and the release date.
Yep, for sure. So it's called When Arts Collide. It's titled Mark Reading, When Arts Collide. On the front cover is a bass on it, one of my basses, and I play the bass. And I started almost 2 years ago, and May will be 2 years. One of my really good friends, Donnie Blair, he kind of reignited my interest in wanting to try to play an instrument, and so I started with the idea with him, and then he lives in El Paso, or he lives in Amarillo, not El Paso. He lives in Amarillo, which is a long ways from me where I'm at. So I found an instructor here that has been nothing but amazing for me. His name is George Anderson, and he's taught me so many things, not just about music, but about martial arts as well. He doesn't even do martial arts. He doesn't have no clue, but of what I've learned from him on that aspect. But I really have learned a ton. My album comes out May 10th. It'll be on all streaming platforms, iTunes, Spotify, all that different things like that. I went and did another way to learn. I wanted to do an actual record, a vinyl record. I think those are awesome. And I went to, like I said, Detroit to watch them make this process. So they're going to ship those to me next week. I'll have them. I'll be selling them at my school, and then I'm going to do a couple shows from my school in the summertime.
Nice.
And I'll film them and I'll post about them, and just another way for the arts to be able to be brought together. And my students can enjoy these people in this amazing band that play on this album. They can all come in and enjoy that and see our side of the world too, not just the music side. To go, oh man, that was cool. These martial artists over here have done this. So yeah, that's the thing, man. It's an amazing journey, and who knows what's coming next? Hopefully, the book will be next.
Yeah. I really hope that it actually does. I will. Oh, do you by any chance have a Facebook group?
Yeah, it's just Reading Martial Arts is on our Facebook page.
Okay.
My Instagram handle is at RMA Jiu-Jitsu. It's JIUJITSU. If you go to that, you can follow me there. But my Facebook, yeah, it's just Redding Martial Arts. I
Okay.
have an account for Mark Redding as well, but if you want to follow my martial art page, it's just Redding Martial Arts.
Okay, and the music part the live music show that you're gonna do, they will be in the Facebook group.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have
Okay.
all that on there, and then on my website there'll be links to that. So
Oh, good, good, good.
yeah, I'm gonna have all that's coming in the next few months. We'll be working on all of that and learning and experimenting with that.
Okay, awesome. So, for everybody, I will actually put the information of the martial arts school of Mark's martial arts school in the description, and I will also put the information about the album that he actually worked on. I will also add the release date as well on top of that. So,
Awesome.
thanks, Mark. So appreciated. It was such an amazing conversation. So,
All right, man. Have a good rest of your Sunday.
you too. You too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you for staying with us. Our world is full of amazing people. The goal of Sapien is to gather knowledge and to implement those knowledge in our own lives. So please like and share these videos as much as you can and subscribe to the channel. Next week, we will have another amazing guest who will share their own journeys. Thank you for being with us.